What if everything you thought you knew about Israel's history was a lie? In this video, we uncover groundbreaking archaeological discoveries that are rewriting the narrative, shattering myths long used to discredit Israel's ancient connection to the land. From unearthed inscriptions to forgotten temples, the evidence is undeniable and explosive. These revelations don't just challenge popular opinion. They expose the truth hidden in plain sight. If you've ever questioned the roots of faith, history, or identity in the Middle East, you need to see this. Get ready, because what archaeology just revealed changes everything. Watch till the end. You won't believe this. History is not just written in books. It's carved into stone, buried in deserts, and preserved in ruins. In the heart of the Middle East, where religion, politics, and identity are tightly interwoven, archaeology is becoming the most honest witness to ancient truths. And today, it's speaking louder than ever before. For decades, political and religious agendas, especially within some strands of Islamic teaching and broader anti-Israel rhetoric, have sought to deny the historical and spiritual ties between the Jewish people and the land of Israel. But a wave of groundbreaking archaeological discoveries has started to dismantle these claims piece by piece. What was once dismissed as biblical legend is now being confirmed as historical fact. Let's journey through the ruins and revelations that are shaking the foundations of modern narratives. 1. The controversy over Israel's ancient roots. At the core of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is a question that's not just political, it's historical. Who was here first? While Judaism roots itself in millennial-old ties to the land, certain Islamic voices have long denied that Jews had any significant ancient presence in Israel, particularly in Jerusalem. This denial isn't just casual. It's been formalized in speeches, charters, and educational materials. Claims such as there was never a Jewish temple in Jerusalem, or the Jews are foreign colonialists in the land, are echoed in mosques and political arenas alike. But archaeology, impartial and unforgiving, has begun to weigh in. And what it's revealing is deeply inconvenient for those who've tried to rewrite the past. 2. The City of David. Unearthing Jerusalem's biblical past. Perhaps the most explosive site in the archaeological battle for truth is the City of David, just south of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. For years, skeptics doubted the existence of a united monarchy under King David and Solomon. But excavations in the City of David have uncovered structures and artifacts that date precisely to the 10th century BCE. Matching the biblical timeline for David's reign. These include large stone structures interpreted by some scholars as royal buildings, bully clay seals bearing names of officials mentioned in the Bible, water systems referenced in 2 Samuel, possibly linked to David's conquest of the Jebusite city. While not all archaeologists agree on every interpretation, the weight of evidence strongly supports the idea that Jerusalem was not only inhabited during this period, but was a functioning and fortified political center, exactly as the Bible describes. This obliterates claims that the Jewish connection to Jerusalem is a modern fabrication. The evidence is literally beneath our feet. 3. The Temple Mount, a silent but telling witness. Islamic tradition holds that the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock sit on the site from which Muhammad ascended to heaven. But Jewish tradition places something else there first. Solomon's Temple, followed centuries later by Herod's Second Temple, where Jesus himself taught and overturned the money changers' tables. Islamic leaders have often denied the existence of these temples, claiming instead that they are myths invented to justify modern Zionism. But even though formal excavations are not allowed on the Temple Mount itself, evidence from surrounding areas tells a different story. Among the key finds, the Western Wall, part of the retaining wall for the Second Temple complex. stones, and inscriptions matching Herodian construction style found near the southern and western slopes. Artifacts removed by the Islamic Waqf during illegal excavations, which were later recovered and analyzed, revealing remnants of Jewish ritual objects, tools, and pottery dating to the Second Temple period. Despite political efforts to suppress this evidence, archaeology is steadily rebuilding the picture of a sacred Jewish temple at the very heart of Jerusalem, centuries before Islam even existed. 4. Biblical cities confirmed by archaeology. Across modern Israel, ruins of ancient cities mentioned in the Bible are being discovered and authenticated through archaeological digs. Hazor, Megiddo, and Gezer, 3 key cities fortified by King Solomon, now uncovered with massive gate complexes and walls matching biblical descriptions and timelines. Shiloh, once the religious center of Israel before Jerusalem, excavations have revealed layers from the period of the Judges and early monarchy, including cultic items suggesting priestly activity. Lachish and Jericho, sites of major biblical battles, where stratigraphy and destruction layers correlate with biblical accounts. Each of these finds supports the historicity of the Jewish people in the land, demolishing the idea that biblical Israel was a later myth or colonial fiction. 5. Islamic rewriting of history, a modern political tool. Why would certain Islamic leaders deny Jewish history in Israel? The answer isn't purely religious, it's political. Denying Israel's ancient roots serves the narrative that Jews are modern interlopers with no real claim to the land. It fuels resistance, incites hatred, and justifies violence in the name of liberation. But this narrative is built on historical erasure. Islamic texts like the Quran do acknowledge some biblical figures, but in political discourse, references to Jewish kings, prophets, or temples are often wiped out. Even UNESCO has controversially referred to the Temple Mount only by its Islamic name, Haram al-Sharif, ignoring its Jewish significance. Such moves are not about honoring Islam. They're about weaponizing it against Jewish history. But archaeology, which has no religion or political bias, is exposing the lie. 6. The irony of Islamic archaeology supporting Israel's claims. Ironically, some of the evidence confirming Israel's ancient history has come from Islamic sources themselves. For example, the Aramaic inscriptions from the Second Temple period unearthed near the Temple Mount were found in areas under Islamic administration. And many 19th century Muslim scholars and travelers, before political Islam took a more anti-Israel turn, openly acknowledged the Jewish temple's existence in Jerusalem. Ottoman records from the 16th century even mention the site of Solomon's temple. It's only in the modern political age that denial became doctrine. 7. Christianity and the Second Temple. Even Christian archaeology helps confirm the Jewish roots of Israel. The New Testament, widely accepted as historical by secular scholars, places Jesus at the Jewish Second Temple multiple times. Churches and early Christian pilgrims preserve traditions about Jerusalem's Jewish past, including locations tied to the temple. Ruins from this period, including the Pool of Siloam, Pontius Pilate inscription, and Herodian stones, all reinforce the same truth. Israel's connection to the land runs deep and uninterrupted. 8. What this means for the world. The implications of these discoveries are massive. For those seeking peace, the truth must come first. Any solution built on denial of historical reality is doomed to fail. Israel's legitimacy does not rest solely on modern politics. It stands on 3,000 years of history, belief, and presence. The Jews are not colonizers, they are returnees. Their presence in Israel is not a theft, it is a restoration. And archaeology is proving it. The voice of the earth. History has a voice. It is not loud, but it is persistent. It speaks not in speeches or slogans, but in buried cities, broken pottery, and weathered stones. Long after empires fall and ideologies shift, these silent witnesses remain, waiting for those with the eyes to see and the patience to dig. When they are uncovered, they tell stories that challenge human pride, political agendas, and even entire belief systems. This is why archaeology is so powerful and so dangerous. In a world where truth is often manipulated and rewritten by those in power, the physical evidence beneath our feet becomes one of the last sources of unfiltered truth. And that truth, once unearthed, does more than illuminate the past. It holds a mirror up to the present. Because stones don't lie, but people do. 1. Why lies are told, and why they eventually fail. Human beings lie for many reasons: to protect themselves, to gain power, to rewrite painful histories, or to strengthen political narratives. Nations, religions, and ideologies have all rewritten history to serve their own ends. From propaganda in textbooks to the destruction of historical sites, the manipulation of the past is a tool of control. But the earth does not forget. No matter how many documents are forged, how many records are altered, or how many voices are silenced, the physical record of the past endures. Lies can survive for a generation, or even many, but eventually someone digs. And when they do, the truth begins to rise. 2. The Stones of Israel, a case study in contested history. Nowhere is this more evident than in the land of Israel. For centuries, its hills and valleys have been the stage for divine promises, epic battles, and historical controversy. But in modern times, that history has become a battlefield itself. Certain political and religious groups, particularly in some Islamic and anti-Zionist circles, have worked tirelessly to deny the ancient Jewish presence in the land. They claim that the Jewish people have no legitimate connection to Jerusalem, that the biblical narratives are myths, and that Israel is a colonial invention with no roots in antiquity. But the stones say otherwise. In Jerusalem's city of David, archaeologists have uncovered layers of settlement going back thousands of years. Massive structures, ancient seals, water tunnels, and pottery fragments confirm that this area was a thriving city during the time of King David and his descendants, exactly as the Bible describes. Elsewhere in Israel, cities mentioned in biblical texts, Hazor, Megiddo, Lachish, Gezer, Jericho, Shiloh, have been identified, excavated, and confirmed through archaeological methods. Each discovery speaks not only to the existence of the Jewish people in the land, but to the accuracy of texts often dismissed as religious folklore. The irony is profound. The same stones that critics try to ignore or explain away are the ones shouting the loudest that the biblical story is grounded in history. 3. The power of inconvenient evidence. Truth becomes dangerous when it challenges entrenched beliefs. This is why certain regimes and ideologues have tried to erase the past, literally. During unauthorized construction on Jerusalem's Temple Mount, Islamic authorities have removed tons of soil without archaeological supervision. But even this effort to destroy evidence backfired. Volunteers sifting through the debris have uncovered coins, pottery, and even ancient Hebrew inscriptions from the First and Second Temple periods. The stones, even when discarded, still speak. These are not isolated cases. In many parts of the world, artifacts are hidden or destroyed because they don't fit the official narrative. Temples are paved over. Statues are defaced. Ruins are rebranded. But the truth, no matter how buried, does not die. The ground remembers. And when we dig, it testifies. 4. Stones as witnesses in other ancient civilizations. The principle holds true far beyond the Middle East. In Egypt, ancient hieroglyphs, tombs, and temples have revealed dynasties that reigned for millennia, contradicting Greek accounts that once dismissed them as primitive. In China, The unearthing of the Terracotta Army challenged Western assumptions about early Chinese militarization and statecraft. In the Americas, Mayan pyramids, Incan roads, and Aztec temples tell a story of advanced civilizations that were misrepresented or forgotten after colonization. And in Africa, sites like Great Zimbabwe and Nok prove that sophisticated kingdoms existed long before European contact, despite earlier colonial claims that denied this heritage. The pattern is the same. People lie, distort, or forget, but the stones always wait. 5. When people misuse the past. Sometimes even archaeology is misused. Artifacts can be selectively interpreted, exaggerated, or taken out of context to support political goals. A potsherd becomes a boundary marker. A tablet becomes a theological weapon. This is why responsible archaeology is critical. We must allow the evidence to speak for itself, fully, patiently, and humbly. We must resist the temptation to make the past say what we want it to say. But what's most dangerous is the outright denial of archaeological truth. When evidence is ignored or suppressed because it contradicts ideology, the consequences can be deadly. History shows us that when nations build their identity on false narratives, they must constantly silence, censor, or destroy dissent. Truth becomes an enemy, and peace becomes impossible. 6. The moral of the stones. What, then, do the stones teach us? They teach that truth is resilient, that no matter how thoroughly it is buried, it can be rediscovered. They teach that time reveals all things, and that justice, though slow, has allies buried in the soil. They also remind us of our place in the story. We are not the authors of history. We are its inheritors, its stewards, and, if we're honest, its students. To deny the evidence of history is to deny the dignity of those who lived before us. To silence the stones is to betray truth itself. 7. Implications for today's conflicts. In the modern world, where truth is often relativized and politicized, archaeology can serve as a rare source of objectivity. It reminds us that facts exist, regardless of opinion. For the conflict over Israel and Palestine, this matters deeply. It is not about sides, it's about honesty. No peace can be built on lies. If the Jewish people have a 3,000-year-old history in the land, as the stones overwhelmingly suggest, then that must be acknowledged, even if it complicates modern politics. Likewise, the presence and heritage of others, Christian, Muslim, Arab, must also be respected. The land is layered with faith and history. But the answer is not to erase one story to elevate another. It is to face the full truth. 8. A call to listen to the earth. We are entering an age where ancient history is more accessible than ever. With satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar, and international collaborations, we are uncovering more about our shared past than any generation before us. But technology alone is not enough. We must have the moral courage to accept what we find, even when it challenges us, even when it makes us uncomfortable. Because the truth, like a buried city, doesn't go away just because we don't like it. It waits, and it whispers, and eventually it speaks. When the dust clears. In the end, the struggle over history is not just academic, it's spiritual. It is a battle between memory and manipulation, between legacy and lies. The stones do not care about our politics. They do not bend to our desires. They do not flatter our beliefs. They simply endure. And when they are uncovered, they tell the truth, faithfully, fearlessly, and forever. Because stones don't lie, but people do. If this shocked you, you're not alone. The truth buried beneath centuries of debate is finally rising to the surface, and it's backed by real evidence. Archaeology isn't just rewriting history, it's revealing what was always there. If this video opened your eyes, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to see it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We're ready for real conversation. And remember, truth doesn't fear scrutiny. Thanks for watching and stay tuned, because more revelations are coming, and they're even more unbelievable than this. Don't miss what's coming next.